This is catfish. Now, the thing about catfish, and a really interesting thing to talk about, and a very pertinent thing in the world, is that we have really depleted our oceans of all the good eatins, and things like grouper, though I adore them, shouldn't really have a place in a menu anymore. They're just very endangered, things like Chilean sea bass and grouper and a number of other fish, East Coast halibut. They're fish that we've just overfished. So we have to look for good, sustainable fish. Southern catfish is US raised and a wonderful, wonderful fish to use because it's ecologically sound and is within our proximity, and we're supporting a local economy. Its flavor is really good and straightforward. And it's one of the fish that, at least at the restaurant, that it's commonly said that we do better than pretty much anyone else. I love taking things like catfish and making them awesome, because they should be, because they're great fish. But so many people just fry a catfish or just do really simple presentations with great, great ingredients like this, or they choose to not sell them when they're pristinely fresh. So catfish you can get in whole or you can get fillets. I tend to want to take off a fair bit of the sort of fatty connective tissue on the back, and that'll just make it a little more tender when we get it through if we're working with fillets. So and we just take a knife and go through like that. So we're just going to go through and do that, and then we're just going to lightly season these with just salt and press them into what's called panko, which are Japanese breadcrumbs. Panko is available at most shops. You can definitely get it at Kroger here, for instance. And it is a larger bread that's a crustless bread, and then it's ground down into these breadcrumbs, toasted and ground down into larger breadcrumbs, and comes out exceptionally crisp. So that will be used. I'm seasoning with just salt right now, and then I'm going to crust in these breadcrumbs, which does have a little bit of chili powder in it. I'm not getting too much on there. I don't want a big egg wash or anything on there. We've got our fish all crusted up, and then we're just going to saute that or fry that in just a little bit of oil, which is just olive oil. I'm frying at a fair bit of heat. When I say frying, I am not frying in this much fat. That's what our grandmothers did. We're frying in this much fat. It's a trace amount. It's less than 1/4 inch of oil. And that's just to insulate the fish as we cook it. To me, that's what oil is. It's a flavoring component that's an insulating medium against direct, high, hot heat. Okay, these are going to crisp up pretty readily and quickly. So we're going to crisp them off on both sides, and then we're going to finish them in a 400-degree oven. And that's really only going to take about 5 to 6 minutes. You want to think about how thick your fish is, and for every inch of thickness, in a 400-degree oven, after crisping on or getting a nice sear on it, it's going to take about 8 to 10 minutes per inch. So these are about 3/4 inch thick, so we're just going to use them for about 5 to 6, 7 minutes. Catfish is one of those fish that you want to cook through, not for fear of killing yourself or something like that, just because it's not the greatest flavor of a chewier fish in on your palate. Catfish sashimi never caught on. I don't know why. I always say presentation side down. When we're looking at the fish, it's got the side that was against the bone structure, and then it's got the side that wasn't. And the side that wasn't would have been pointed out on the fish, and that's what I'm going to call the presentation side. So we're just going to make sure that this is getting warm, and it is. Get a little bit of sizzle there. We're just going to lay those in. I've got this nice old cast iron Lodge pan. Having pans like that are really useful because they're kind of the natural non-stick pan. Metal is porous when it's cold, and when you heat it up, that porosity becomes closed. So virtually any metal pan, whether it be stainless or cast iron, is virtually non-stick when it's hotter. But if you put protein in when it's cold, it starts to close up on the protein, and that's why you stick. I've got a simple spatula here. I've got my heat on medium-high, so we're going to just peek at these, and they're just browning nicely. My wife, Mary, insists on doing this all the time while cooking. It's not really necessary. It's going to cook. You can just leave it be. It's doing fine. So we're just going to let it go. We're going to watch it. You could baste it a little bit if you feel like you are dying to do something. And we're going to turn it as before it starts to burn, obviously, and as it just starts to crisp up nicely. And then we're going to be finishing the oven. So those are golden, and we're just going to make sure that's good and go right into the oven. Back to catfish land. Everybody's always wondering how to tell when fish is done. These need a little bit longer. And one of the reasons is if you feel it, and if you can feel the vibration going through it from the bottom of the pan, it means it's done. If you can't, it means it's still soft and rubbery in the center, and that's dampening that vibration coming through. These just need probably about another minute or two. They should also just begin to break away and into larger flecks of fish as you push on it just a little bit. It'll have that give. So these will probably just need about another minute or two. So we've got the catfish at this juncture, and they're pretty much ready to go. They're already seasoned. They're nice and crisp and ready. They don't have that sort of battery texture that I'm looking to avoid, because I love the flavor and sort of crispy outside with the panko, but I don't want all that richness of a whole layer of flour and egg wash and more flour or cornmeal or whatever. So it's very straightforward in this.